Hello, and thanks for tuning in to Town Meeting TV's coverage of Town Meeting Day 2026. My name is Emily Anderson. This program is part of a series of candidate forums hosted by Town Meeting TV in advance of the Town Meeting Day election on Tuesday, April 14th, 2026. These forums are made possible by Town Meeting TV's generous underwriting partners. You can find all of our forums at cctv.org/TMD2026 or on our Town Meeting TV YouTube channel, where auto-generated captions are available. If you're tuning in on YouTube, click the subscribe button to stay tuned into local democracy this election season. On tonight's program, we will hear from 3 candidates running for the Essex Westford School Board. These candidates are Scott Brown, our incumbent, Taryn Hennebeek, Taryn Hennebeek, and Dawn Irwin. Thank you for being here tonight. We have prepared a list of questions for each of you, and you will have 90 seconds to answer each question. Rebuttals will only be allowed if a candidate is named directly, in which case the candidate will have 30 seconds to respond. If you are tuning in live, we also welcome your questions at 802-862-3966. If you call in, we will do our best to prioritize your question, though we will screen calls to ensure questions are not repeated. We ask that you share your name, the town you live in, and that your question be directed at all candidates, not just one candidate in particular. You can also submit questions for future forums online at cctv.org/TMD2026. Let's get started with 1-minute opening statements. We'll start with Scott Brown. And here's some questions for your opening statement. Please tell us why you are running, how you are qualified to serve on the Essex Westford School Board, and what will be different for the school district if you are re-elected.
Thank you, Emily, and thank you, Town Meeting TV, for hosting this. I'd like to start off by saying, yes, I'm Scott Brown. I am the incumbent. I have served 2 terms to date. This is my 3rd running for a school board seat. What has me prepared for this, or my experience, is both the 6 years that I've served on the board as well as the work and life experience I gained before that. I am not a teacher by background. However, in my experience through work, operations, budgets, so forth, I have an experienced eye in looking at how things are run, what could be done to make things run better. And it has served me well, with the mantra on the school board to make sure our district is run well, but not to run the district. I am not an expert on curriculum planning. However, when we see data as a board, when it's presented to us, my background allows me to look at the trends, look at improvements, and understand if we're going in the right direction.
Excellent, thank you. And Taryn, please tell us why you are running, how you are qualified to serve on the Essex Westford School Board, and what will be different for the school district if you are elected.
Thank you so much for having me. So I'm Taryn Hennebeek, and I am a resident of Essex Junction for over a decade now. My family has lived here, and we are very much rooted here. I'm the mom of 2 young children in the district, and so this work is really personal for me. I have served on the Hiawatha PTO for the last 2 years, so that's been really meaningful work. And lastly, I am a small business owner here in town. I've been a communications expert for over 20 years now, and I have helped schools around the country. I have worked with various organizations of many different sizes over the years, trying to help them be as successful as possible and helping them with communication strategy. So yeah, I'm just really excited for this opportunity to be considered for this spot, and I feel like it's really important to serve the community, and this is why I'm here. So I really hope that I can help with, if I'm elected, with communications in particular, and making sure that everyone feels valued and there, that there's a lot of transparency. Just kind of continuing what the current board has been doing.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
And Dawn.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yes.
My name is Dawn Irwin. I have lived in Essex most of my life. I grew up in the Junction as a child. I moved to the town as an adult, and then I just recently moved back to the Junction. So I've kind of bebopped all over the place in our community. I served on the board in a one-year term in 2023 as a town resident. And now that I'm in the Junction, I'm just really excited to get back into the work. I've been an early childhood educator since 2010. I'm a licensed early educator. I owned my own small program in Essex for about 5 years, and then recently joined the state of Vermont to use my skills in a different way. And I think the work that I've done with the board before and the voice that I bring for early childhood education could be really valuable for the board as we keep moving forward.
Great, thank you. Thank you, everyone. And again, welcome. I'm glad you're here. Now we'll start with some questions. And Taryn, you'll be first. School budget. The Essex Westford School District has proposed a budget of $102 million. This would result in per pupil education spending being 2.82% higher than the current year. Do you support this school budget?
Mm-hmm, I do. Short answer. I think that the current board has worked so hard to get us to where we are at, and I think it's a really balanced budget. I think it supports students, resources, and teachers, and there is a little bit of an increase, but I think they've done a really good job of trying to keep things as even to last year as possible. So there's not, it doesn't hit people terribly hard. We hope.
Yeah. Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Taryn. Dawn.
I also support the budget. I think it's a modest increase, especially with what the board was facing a few years ago. A lot of really hard cuts and decisions had to be made, and I really applaud the board for what they did to get us where we're at today, kind of like what Taryn was saying. And I think that we need to honor where we're at with the work that we've done and keep doing what we can do to keep high quality education accessible to our students and families.
Great, thank you. And Scott, do you support this budget?
I do support it. I voted on it as a board member. Fortunately, it was unanimous, and that helps with the board. I appreciate the sentiments of the two others running, and hopefully they will be voting for it as well. I will be voting for it as a citizen. This year was a bit easier than the previous 2 years. The public knows in all three towns, Westford, the town, and the Junction, we made some significant and painful cuts in order to kind of hold down the rate of the increase. A lot of that has factors from the state, healthcare contracts, and so forth. Those that are in the know understand. Decisions weren't made out of sleight of hand, and this year we were able to kind of look, take in the information from the administration and look at some of the tough changes we made with both Westford and Summit Street, but really put forth, hey, we've threaded a needle in a lot of ways. That doesn't make everyone happy, but we really have focused on the staff and the students and student outcomes to be where we're at now, and this budget moving forward is able to keep that same programming active into next year.
Mm-hmm. Great, thank you. Our next question is on school funding and legislative reform. The governor and Vermont legislature are responding to frustrations about high taxes and school spending and have made steps to cut costs through consolidating districts and capping spending. What do you think the folks in Montpelier need to hear from local communities regarding these efforts? Dawn, we'll start with you.
Thank you. I think what Montpelier needs to hear is that we need to pause what they're doing with Act 73 right now. I think there are ramifications that they're not aware of, particularly with special education funding, where we could lose astronomical amounts of monies that we need to be able to support our students. And I think that's the thing that they need to hear the most. I also think it's really important for them to look at districts like ours that have already gone through consolidation. We consolidated our district almost 10 years ago, and we're doing it pretty successfully. And so I think it would be really important for them to bring communities like ours, districts like ours to the table, find out what worked for us, what didn't work for us, and make smart decisions from there.
Thank you. Scott.
Yeah, it seems like every year, to go back to the first question, what's different? Every year is different, and a lot of that difference year to year is where the state is at and what the legislature is doing, whether it's Act 73, whether it was, any number. You add the act and the number and adjust to it. So right now, what I would want the state to know is that the current cost structure and the way we fund healthcare is extremely impactful to the annual budget changes. When we are looking at level, continuing all the programs, but then just the cost of the benefits or the cost of the staff, which is the major component, some things that are out of the district's control can negatively impact what we want to do for student outcomes. So I would ask the state, I understand that Act 73 is an effort to contain costs, but capping spending at 2% or 3%, one of the ideas in the House or the Senate right now, it has a really negative impact on what we are able to do. The cost of utilities are typically higher year over year than 2%. The cost of benefits are higher. And so what you're really forced to do as a district then is pick winners and losers on programs. So the best way is to really kind of look at what the state has control of and then allow the districts to control what we control best.
Thank you. And Taryn.
Well, I would echo what everyone has said. I think I just want to emphasize, in case there is perhaps some confusion about what's happening with Act 73, I just want to emphasize the skyrocketing cost of health benefits, right? So that's really out of our control as a district, and I would be very happy to help advocate to and in as far as from a communications point of view, put my hat in there and really try to help with some of these communications
Great.
that the folks in Montpelier need to
Yes.
hear.
Yes. Thank you.
Yeah.
Oops. Okay. Okay, challenges. What is the biggest challenge facing Essex Westford schools, and how would you use your seat on the school board to address this issue? Scott.
I get to start this one. Yes, it's, you'd like to say as a school board member, you have the challenges under control, but no, there are challenges that we face, and one of the ones that we're going to be digging into as a board this next year, whether it's any number of the three of us, two of us will be digging into the current status of our facilities. The facilities themselves really aren't purpose-built for the education we offer today, nor the number of buildings or the transportation to and from those buildings, so that is on our plate as a significant issue to address. It will also be interesting, the challenges, whatever does come out of Act 73 or another state initiative that the district and the board reacts to. Those are two. Declining school enrollment would maybe be a third, but that isn't as significant to our district. Essex Westford is very strong with a stable population, decreasing only slightly. So we have so many things going for us that I believe the challenges we face outside of what Montpelier might do for us I think the facilities is a great challenge to take on, and I really look forward to the community feedback in the process.
Cool. Awesome. Thank you. And Taryn.
I think affordability, I think you were, just to echo what Scott was saying, I think affordability in our district, we are potentially losing folks because of the cost, the taxes keep going up as much as the board is trying to limit that. So I do think that's a challenge, and I think it's going to continue to be a challenge. I would love to sit on this facilities committee with you. I'm so interested in that. I think that it is really alarming that the estimate, I believe, was about $300 million that we need to invest over the coming years in our school buildings, infrastructure, HVAC. We've had water leaks. There are potential mold issues. Pipes are very, very old. A lot of these buildings are from the 50s and 60s. So naturally, there's roofing work that has been done. There's more of that needs to be done. But just thinking about that number is kind of a scary number, and I really want to help, educate folks on how this can be done in a very thoughtfully, fiscally responsible way in the what can be done in the short term, and also just really thinking about what's happening to all those buildings. And we want to keep ultimately we want to keep students and staff comfortable and safe. So
Yes.
yeah, I think those are, of course.
Thank you. And Dawn, challenges.
Thank you so much. I echo both of you with the facilities. I think it's a challenge that we could, flip into a really great investment into our future. And I think, taking it from a lens of like, what are we gifting our families and our community over the long run, like the 50, 70 years from now? Another issue that I'm really excited to work on is continuing partnerships with organizations and entities with our school district. In my background, preschool education is public and private, right? And so it's the job of our district to create relationships and connections that are putting our children and families first. And so that is, maybe it's not necessarily a challenge, but it's something that could potentially, if we don't continue nurturing those relationships and keeping them in the forefront of our minds, I think that's something that I'm really excited to be working on.
Thank you. So, this question is called school buildings, but it doesn't go in the direction that you all were going. The district voted to move grades 6 through 8 from Westford School to Essex Middle School, leaving Westford as a pre-K through 5 school. How do you think this change has affected students and the district? Taryn, we'll start with you.
Well, we were actually talking about this right before we went live, and my understanding, my limited understanding of this is that there is very mixed feedback, as there would be, I think. So, there may or may not be longer commute times for some families. There may be folks who, are sort of, change can be really difficult for some folks, for probably all of us at different times in our lives. And the idea that you thought your child was going to one school for a period of time and then they're not, that can be really hard to adjust to. So, yeah, that's my understanding. I mean, it's very similar to what just happened with Hiawatha and Summit School. There's a lot of that I've experienced that firsthand, especially being on the PTO, and change is really hard, but it's also inevitable. And I think as a board, we just need to continue listening and being there for families and adjusting as needed, if needed.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
Dawn.
Thank you so much. I think that, again, we've had to make really tough choices as a district, and that was one of those choices. I want to say I'm really proud of our students and our families for their flexibility and their willingness to adjust and adapt to change. As we all know, it's really hard. Transitions are hard, change is hard. And the way that our superintendent has been making himself available to our families to make sure that they feel listened to and heard, and that we are coming up with solutions for things like transportation, I think is essential to making sure that, you know, again, we're meeting all of our families and students' needs to the best of our abilities.
Thank you. And Scott.
Hi, yes, Scott. So incumbent here, but I first have to mention the knowledge that the two of you have on what these current events are is very impressive. It makes me feel good that that what we are doing is being shared. I will say as a board member, the decisions to move the students from Westford to Essex Middle School wasn't taken lightly. And the decision to close Summit was even perhaps, you know, at the same level or more. So many parents spoke out both in favor of Summit and to maintain Westford as it was. The decisions were made, and I'm proud of what the district has done to try to there were challenges with the two teacher groups moving into one school because they had become accustomed to how Summit did things and Hiawatha did things, and you brought those two cultures, might be a strong word to say, that were brought together, but there was, you know, smoothing of how things were done, and I think that has gone well. You know, and as Dawn was saying, our superintendent has been out talking to Westford parents at the school. He has stated he loves being there for drop-off. So what Taryn and Dawn know about the process is impressive, and it's true. We are 6 months into this change. The district is collecting feedback. I can share to the community the numbers, the financial numbers are coming in a bit more in our favor in terms of what we said we would save. So we're not talking about a budget overrun and a miscalculation. That is good. And then, you know, I do want to say to all those parents out there, please reach out to your principals. Please reach out to Mark as the superintendent. Share what your experience is. We as a board are looking to receive that feedback so we can look at how we can influence better or some changes into the next year.
Great, thank you. Okay, Dawn, you'll take the next question first.
Sure.
Political climate. Given the continued Trump administration's efforts to cut off funding for DEI efforts, end immigration, and remove safeguards for transgender people, what does the school district need to do to protect the community and individual civil rights?
This is such a great question. It's one of the reasons why I decided to get involved again. I think it's really important that we're standing up for the families in our communities that need us to. I think continuing to ensure that our policies, the school board's policies, are written in a way that, you know, make sure that our kids and our families, our students, our teachers, our staff are safe and are able to learn in a safe and supportive learning environment. And that means safety however it looks for our families, which could change as the, you know, climate and, you know, structure of our community changes. So I also think that the work that the advocacy committee is doing right now is absolutely crucial. When I was in my earlier education years, I worked a lot with Let's Grow Kids and really gained a lot of skills with, you know, speaking with legislators, reaching out to community members, making sure that that connection is there so that the State House, Montpelier, can hear what we need and keep our community safe too. So I think those are two ways that the board could really ensure that we're keeping our families and students, our whole school community, as safe as possible.
Great, thank you. Scott.
Hi, it's a great question, very pertinent for what's going on today. What I would share, you know, as a board member, the district voted in an equity policy, a very strong equity policy about 5 years ago, and it's as relevant or even more relevant today given the political atmosphere. And one of the things that I was curious about is Erin McGuire, last year, 2 years ago, was our diversity and equity director. And I was wondering if perhaps we would use a different name for her, or if she would announce herself with a different title to avoid perhaps the scrutiny and spotlight. I want the district, I want parents and stakeholders out there, our community, to know she is extremely proud and voices her title as equity director every single chance she can get. And that should communicate to all of our stakeholders that we are in this for the long run. We are in this to support the equity policy, and all of our students and teachers that can be positively impacted by it and protected by it.
Great, thank you. Taryn.
Thank you. I am so curious about, so I think it's amazing that we have this equity policy, but I'm curious if the general population understands what is in it, and I would love to help us communicate that further, really bring it to life for students and for staff. Obviously, speaking with students, I mean, I love, I'm really focused on elementary school because that's where my kids are at right now, but it's so exciting to see how they're learning about caring for their friends and their classmates and neighbors. And I just think that the work that has been done is so critical, so important, and we need to maintain these inclusive policies. And at the end of the day, our kids need to be protected. They need to be safe. So I just wonder if there's more and I would love to help explore that further. How could we really communicate what this entails? And I think there has actually, or my understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, that perhaps there was a reason why we weren't communicating the equity, like getting into the DEI conversation. I don't know if there was a strategy about not kind of pushing that forward, because I would understand that also, but would love to, kind of dig into that.
Happy to
More.
talk about it. I don't know if I have an answer to that.
Yeah.
I'm unaware of any restraint that we've
Yeah.
had on the policy.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, the next, let me pause this. Next question is on public safety. What are the schools currently doing well to ensure school safety and student well-being? What other initiatives might you propose? And Scott, we'll start with you.
I should get that one first? All right. For public safety,
You
so
got the last one first.
Gary Scott is our director of the safety side in our school district, former state trooper. Excellent, I feel excellent in his role and represents our needs quite well. For safety, you could talk about how students enter the building or access the building in classes, how parents or stakeholders must sign in, must have a visual notification and enter appropriately. There are so many things that have to do with public safety. We have a good staff. We have student staff members, other professionals in safety working in our building. And so what I would say to this, in terms of initiatives, when we can address facilities kind of at a whole scale level, safety will be extremely paramount in that. You're talking about safety, ADA compliance, how we can have community centers in our buildings, but then also cordon off the instructional portions of the building. Right now, that's not possible. So when families show up for an evening, kids can, perhaps run around the school in places they shouldn't be. So I think, public safety, I would say, we do what's appropriate. There's always an argument we could do more. I think we have a sound public safety policy. We as a board know what the safety responses are for certain situations. As board members, you would be aware of that. Many of these we can't share publicly, but they are extremely robust. They include cyber. They include, the traditional means of what you would see as an unsafe school. So I think our district has done that well and will continue to focus on safety moving forward.
Great, thank you, Scott. Taryn.
Absolutely. To build off of that, I would just say I think Gary is so fantastic. I think we are in such good hands with him, and he has an incredible background. For the Hiawatha community, last year we put together a speaker series and invited Gary to come tell us about how they are, kind of explain what's happening as far as safety drills and the protocols and the preparedness for faculty and students. And I thought it was immensely helpful. Actually, we've had it twice now, so I've gone through it twice, and it just really put me at ease. I've had I think I'm probably not alone in this, having some fear in sending our youngest children to school in light of what's, literally happening every day in our country. And I just feel, like I said, we're in really good hands with him. I love that we have, that there are cameras, that there are processes. I've seen the packet. The communications packet is very robust. So, it goes over so many different scenarios, but that, I really love how our educators are talking to students at no matter what level they're at. We're kind of, they're not trying to, scare them. They really are trying to prepare them, and I just love the language that they're using with kiddos. And I think, again, if the community is interested, I think it would be really great if we were kind of sharing more of this, what is appropriate, if they're interested in learning about, how the district handles keeping everybody safe.
Great. Yeah. Awesome. Thank you. Dawn.
Thanks. I want to echo what Scott was saying. I'm really excited about how we can incorporate safety into our facilities discussions. I think that's going to be a huge game changer for us. One thing I think, which goes to where our facilities are now, is, Gary's incredible, and we need to be able to be flexible and adapt and be able to anticipate things that are not, we can't anticipate. So I really think a lot of those initiatives, that kind of thought processes, will be helpful as we're moving into more discussions about our facilities.
Mm-hmm. Great. Awesome. So the next question is about teacher morale and well-being. What is the role of the school district and specifically the board to support teacher well-being? And we'll begin with Taryn.
Thank you. I think, the teachers and staff, they are with our children the majority of the day. They are guiding, nurturing, protecting our children, and I think that the board absolutely has a role in supporting staff and our educators. We need to, I think everyone probably in the community would agree that we want the best possible teachers for our young people, and that means competitive pay and the benefits that they deserve. And I would absolutely want to continue the good work that the board is doing and support teachers in that way. They deserve it, and I think that it will encourage them to continue to work as hard as they do for our kids.
Great, thank you. Dawn.
Thanks. I agree with Taryn. I also think something that's crucial is ensuring that teachers have a spot at the table. They're the experts along with the families of our students, and so their knowledge, their expertise is crucial in making sure that we are meeting the needs of our students and families to the best of our abilities. So making sure that we're treating them with respect and dignity, and really knowing that they are true collaborators with us in the vision for our school community. I think a really great way that we could show that support is if the board kind of stood behind professionalizing the field for early childhood educators. Right now, they are not seen as professionals, and that is really disheartening to walk into a school and know that maybe your colleagues don't see you as less than, but it can be viewed as a less than. And so I think if we as a community can stand behind our early educators, that's a really great way to show that yes, we support them, yes, we believe in the work that they do every day, just like the rest of our educators, the rest of the staff that we hold our little ones near and dear every day.
Cool, thank you. And Scott.
Yeah, fundamental, we want to make sure that our teachers are supported in what they do to educate, our children. So one of the ways we've done that as a board currently, we went through a successful hiring process of a new superintendent. Dr. Mark Holodick is here, and in order to engage with the community, we did form a focus group of parents and stakeholders. We even had students, and we had administrators, and we had teachers. And each of those groups were able to represent their voice, their particular voice, in evaluating the 3 candidates. We had 3 very good candidates, and we as a board collected all that feedback and reviewed it. So we wanted to make sure, speaking of teachers specifically, that they had a voice in representing what was important to them for a superintendent. The other things we do, we are currently actively in negotiations with both the teachers union and support staff union. I am on that committee for the support staff. So in terms of how we value our teachers, the negotiations is part of that. What do we offer for a competitive wage and benefits package to make sure we are the district that can attract the best teachers, while also being very careful with the impact that would have on the proposed school budget, and the parents. Yeah. One of the challenges, go back to challenges, is 20 years ago, 60% of the community had students in the school. Today, it's only 40%. So there's a lot of people that might say education costs too much because they don't have their kids in the school. So it's important to balance that, but I'm saying it here, it is important to attract the best staff, and that comes with a little bit more that we have to pay for that.
Yes. Okay, well, thank you. Now we are on to measuring success. How do you think the district should measure the success of administrators, teachers, and students? Dawn, we'll start with you.
Thank you so much. I think the biggest measure of success is a thriving school community. No matter what our test scores say, if our students and our staff and our teachers feel safe and supported and are in an environment that encourages learning and for them to become reach their full potential and become their best selves, I think that's an excellent way for us to measure how our schools are doing. Of course, I think data is important, and I think that those things are equally should be looked at and discussed. But I do think that those things that might not be so quantitative are also just as important.
Great, thank you. And Scott?
Yes, so as a board, we do evaluate the superintendent. That is the one employee the board has for itself. We measure student performance by having information presented to the board from principals, teachers, and the superintendent. We have that periodically. The evaluating of the teachers, we really don't do as a board. We know that as the superintendent presents his plan today, best plan before, and how they evaluate teachers and how they grow teachers is a pretty robust. But just to be clear, I think the district does a good job in how we measure teacher and student success, and it can always be improved, but I think Essex Westford does it very well right now.
Great, thank you. And Taryn?
I'm really excited to learn more about that, how the data is collected. I think that at the end of the day, it's about, like Scott was saying earlier, it's about student outcomes, it's about growth, it's about staff that feels valued, that is happy, and feels supported. So I think there's always opportunity for more two-way feedback as well. So yeah, I would just kind of echo what everyone is saying. But
Great.
I really do think that the board is doing a good job.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, this has been such a great opportunity to hear all of your thoughts and responses, and also just the shared camaraderie of the 3 of you around this topic, and just participating in your community so beautifully. I'd like to give you each 30 seconds to kind of do a little follow-up and, this is who I am moment, and we'll start with you, Scott.
Well, thank you again for hosting the event. I'll first off say I might not have finished it in the first question. I've been a resident of Essex Junction for 25 years. I've had 3 kids become students and matriculate through the district. I have 1 more as a senior. I am very pleased with what we've experienced in Essex Westford, starting at Hiawatha and now finishing up at the high school. But I'd also like to say I very much want to continue to serve, and I hope that you vote for me. But in knowing Dawn before and meeting Taryn here tonight, I believe that 2 of us are going to do a great job, regardless of the 2, and I would be just as happy to see these 2 as board members. I think it's great to run, to present our candidacy to the public, and the best 2 people. I think it's pretty good here that two of us can serve in the coming months.
Awesome, thank you. Thank you. Taryn.
Thank you. That was really kind. I want to say thank you to everyone for being here. This has actually been really fun. I really wanted to throw my name in the hat. I feel very connected to our community and would love to serve. But I agree. I feel like I just want to say how grateful I am to both of you for serving, and 6 years. I mean, and to know that you've had such an amazing experience with all of your children going through the district. Yeah, I'm just really happy to be here and would love the opportunity to serve this next term.
Awesome, thank you.
Thank you so much again for hosting. I feel so grateful to be up here with you both. It's really refreshing to know that no matter who the voters choose, they're going to have some pretty great representatives on the board with their best interests in mind. I loved growing up in Essex as a kid. I came back to Essex as an adult to raise my children here. I love our schools. I love our community. I loved working for our school. I know it was only 1 year, so I got just a tiny little taste, but it was enough of a taste for me to want more. And so I really hope that you vote for me. Thank you, and yeah, excited to be here.
Well, awesome. Well, it's really wonderful to be with the 3 of you, and I do think that the district is in good hands with all 3 of you, so thank you. And thank you for tuning in to Town Meeting TV's ongoing coverage of local candidates, budgets, and ballot items. You can find this and many more forums at cctv.org/TMD2026 or on our Town Meeting TV YouTube channel. Don't forget to cast your ballot on Town Meeting Day on or before April 14th. Contact your local clerk to find out how to obtain a ballot and to register to vote. In Vermont, you can register to vote on Election Day. Thank you for watching and sharing Town Meeting TV. And thank you again, candidates.